Okay, good morning. This is day 87 of making little videos to describe a day or thought in the life of Schizophrenic Dominic. I believe I experienced schizophrenia. I've been diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, but I do not believe that I am crazy or diseased. And uh, in day 17 and day 45 of these videos, I describe why I just choose to call myself a schizophrenic rather than targeted individual. In day 17 and day 45, I explain why I make these videos. It's a little 3-minute intro, and then there's the rest of the video. I have written a book on medium.com that I submit in chapter form as I complete it. It is for free. It is a book titled Unveiling the Schizophrenic Tradition. It explains maybe some of my thought processes that could have gotten me targeted for infliction of this program, and some technologies and research that I've done on technologies that both political and machine or digital that could have resulted in symptoms of my schizophrenia, including voice hearing and stalking in the public. Okay, so I will go ahead and start today. One of the things that happens in the schizophrenia feedback, the biofeedback, is they do high-speed chases. So like car chases and things of that nature are usually started based on things that I do in my house. Typically, it is related to eating. So like if I eat off schedule or something out of turn that they determine is not necessary eating, then they will have a high speed chase go on. Sometimes it's related to thought processes, like I think something in my head, they'll start a high speed chase, like you're doing something, a thought crime or food crime or something like that. So one of the things I do in recently as I started my diet and I've lost about 8 pounds is I eat at around midnight. I eat some broccoli, typically around midnight, sometimes 10. I eat broccoli and Tapatio sauce and with some eggs and bell pepper and like an omelet or something, or like sometimes a lot of times I eat cucumber. That's besides the point. Anyways, I eat broccoli and Tapatio sauce. So I ran out of Tapatio sauce about 2 days ago, and I have not been on my regular eating schedule at night, which has led to my weight loss. And they decided to hijack a Tapatio truck, and a Tapatio truck went on a high-speed chase yesterday in the LA area, and this was because I did not go buy Tapatio sauce at the store. I was just gonna eat something without Tapatio. So now I'm an uncle, so they say Tapatio, tap a Tio, so tap an uncle. So they think like like my phone my phone is tapped or something, and so I'm an uncle, and they're saying Tapatio. But also the Tapatio was done because I didn't go get my Tapatio sauce, so that was just an example. There was a high speed chase. Tapatio was a very dangerous chase, and so this guy did that yesterday. So that's related to my schizophrenia program, and that's just an example of some schizophrenia feedback that happens. Okay, so like I say, 2 days ago, I ran out of Tapatio sauce, or 3 days ago, and I haven't gone and gotten any yet at the store. So that's related to my program. All right, so in my book on the UFO book that I've been reading, it's a very big book, and I read slowly out of books. It talks about billions going to Vietnam during the space race with the Soviets, and that took up all the political energy in the country, and it's kind of interesting that the war took up all the political energy in the country as opposed to some sort of other exploration of space or something. Like maybe people would have been more mesmerized and consumed with the idea of like, going into space. But when there's the communist boogeyman threatening the domino revolution all around the world, that scares everybody into saying, let's think about the war and let's not think about space exploration. And so I had shared on my Facebook page uh, a talk with a guy named Bill Deagle, and he basically said in the end of that clip that uh, the space colonization has been taking place for a long time, and there's fleets out there in the space, and that we have a base on Mars, and there's base on the moon. They know all that, so I don't know what to make of it, but it could very well be true. It's breakaway civilization, and that was put out by Targeted Justice yesterday, and so I thought that was really interesting. It's an old clip, and this guy also said that there's quantum computers that are very massive at Shriver Air Force Base in Colorado, and that there's whole underground cities that engage in monitoring people and stuff. I don't know if he said they engage in monitoring, but he said there's massive computers who have massive computing power, and so that conceivably, a lot of people think, I guess, that could be done to run mind control programs out of that area. And I'm going to get into something about mind control a little later here, so I'm going to keep going. In my book on the simulated reality, it talks about Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick. And Man in the High Castle was a show on Amazon, and it was it was also a book, and it was about the alternative reality that the Nazis and the Japanese won World War II. And so, how much of that is a real reality here? Because if you have multiverse and people can time travel and stuff, maybe the Axis powers could really control today, even now. And we're seeing Nazis come into power, so I don't know. It's very interesting. Anyways, he talks about Philip K. Dick talks about dream worlds and how that led to writing his books. And so I know that there's different realities going on in the dreams, that I experience them every night. It's a lot of times they're dark and they're kind of gross, but yeah, so I don't know if that's another reality or another parallel world, but okay. There's been a pair of 7.7 earthquakes. There was a 7.7 earthquake in Myanmar yesterday, and there was a 7.7 earthquake off the coast of California. And I was thinking that the Myanmar earthquake might have been a warning, and the earthquake in California might have been a warning to California that if the country goes down this Nazi path and California decides it wants to break away, because that's potentially going to be on the ballot, I suppose, that would trigger a civil war. And I think maybe the people that can control earthquakes are saying, California, you better watch out, because if you think that you're going to break off from the United States and win a civil war, we have this earthquake weapon, and it will be totally destructive for you in your state. That's how my mind works. I don't know if that's what happened, but yeah. All right. So in my book on Fingerprints of the Gods, Graham Hancock is talking about the Ice Age a lot, and I was thinking, like, humans, they lived through the Ice Age, and that might have taken a great toll on the human psyche, and maybe even for generations or whatever. I was thinking, like, how much does that affect our culture, like living through an ice age, and now we're coming to global warming and stuff, and it's like, I wonder how much of that is like people remember the ice age in their DNA, and so they just don't care that the Earth is getting hotter. I don't know. That's what I was thinking, and I don't know. In my book on Never Enough, about toxic achievement culture, it discusses that how you fit into your college is a greater indicator of how you're going to succeed in life, or supposed to succeed, or how beneficial your life is going to be than what college you go to. So like if you go to a college and you don't fit the culture, it's going to have an effect on you more than if you go to a lesser college or lesser ranked college and you fit the culture. So how you fit the culture is going to affect you, and I think that's probably true. And there's all these cultural tests, and I always thought that was weird when we go to work. You go to a workplace and they're like, "Do you fit the culture? Do you fit the culture?" and all this, and it's like it was kind of a way to discriminate against people, and uh, you know, uh, rather than bring on diverse people and stuff. And so I know it's a way to control the environment and the organization, and I guess people have to do that kind of thing. But I always thought it was a little weird. And like I say, when you're schizophrenic and you're in the targeted individual program or something, um, there's a lot of harassment that goes on in job interviews. And I know that I've gotten people doing like these weird signs and stuff like this is a sign. And they do these weird signals, intelligence things, and they say like we're not going to hire you or something. And so they kind of control where you go. So it's like a little bit of a blacklisting and stuff, and it's a little different. It's also just difficult to have a job while you're schizophrenic. 85% of schizophrenics don't have jobs, and it's it's because of there's a lot of hostility involved and stuff, so it's very difficult. In my in the book that I'm reading by David A. Hughes, it talks about uh, in 1943. Churchill declared that the next war was going to be for controlling minds. And so it was very interesting that that was said by Churchill, and that then in 1947, 4 years later, this Rees character, who was a big in psychiatry or whatever, he wanted to use psychiatry for social control. He became head of the United Nations mental health program and oversaw mental health programs around the world. And that kind of gives you an indicator of what mental health potentially is about. It's potentially about social control and not necessarily about individual elevation, or supposedly what it's supposed to be about. And so yeah, that was an interesting little tidbit there. And so I was just reading that in my book, and I found that out. And I know that I can experience, I can express that I've experienced how mental health has been used as social control effort on me, and it has altered my standing in society to the point where I'm financially destitute, and that's one way to control somebody is you make them financially destitute. People don't listen to somebody that doesn't work. People don't care about like what you have to say, or uh it's like it's kind of part of the human social mechanism is that's kind of sad because there's a lot of people who are disabled, not just like schizophrenics or whatever, but there's a lot of people who are disabled who cannot work. They have physical disabilities, mental disabilities, and they're just like cast aside and given like a small check or whatever. And it's 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 kind of sad that we have that situation where people aren't allowed to participate in society monetarily because they don't have bodies or mentalities to participate, to work or whatever. And now you have these Nazis coming in, and it's these guys are just kind of pathetic guys, and they don't like the lack of inclusivity that they're fighting against the DEI initiatives that includes disability, people on disability and stuff. And so I don't think people understand, like, Trump, when he says he doesn't like disabled people, or he gets uncomfortable around disabled people, he means your grandma in a wheelchair. He means Fred who lost his leg because he has diabetes or something. And so I don't think people understand like how nasty this guy is, and all right. I'm gonna go ahead and stop here because it's been 15 minutes. So thank you for listening to me. Goodbye.